Good evening, members of council and audience that's signed in to view tonight's council meeting. If we could please stand for a moment of silent reflection and remain standing for O Canada. Thank you. Members of council, you've had a chance to look at items on the agenda. Is there any disclosures of conflict of interest? Seeing none, if any should arise, please let us know. They'll be noted. Adoption of the minutes of the meetings held February 9th, 2021 be adopted as presented. Deputy Mayor Meloche and Councillor Akpata, all in favor. That carries. Thank you. Mayor's comments, just a couple. LaSalle Town Hall will reopen to the public on Monday, March 1st for town business only. Access into the building will be limited and patrons will be actively screened. Patrons are encouraged to make an appointment in advance when meeting with town personnel. The town of LaSalle is reopening the Vollmer Culture and Recreation Complex in phases starting on Monday, March 1st with Skate LaSalle. That will follow with the fitness center and in-person exercise classes on March the 8th. Virtual classes will still be offered for those who choose to continue participating from home. The pool will reopen on March 29th. Appointments will need to be booked in advance for all in-person activities. We look forward to welcoming you back in a safe manner, and we continue to follow the guidelines of our health officials and will make adjustments as necessary. We have received a great response from the community about the Small Coast Waterfront project. We will be posting the final 2 videos this week. We have extended the deadline for comments to March 26th to allow more time to take a look at all the videos and information about the project. Be sure to visit the project page and let us know what you think. We are developing a phased approach for the project and expect that we will be back to the community in a few years for discussion about development of future elements of the project. This will be a beautiful destination point along our waterfront. Rearrange my screen here. Okay. Tonight's agenda, the first item, Chief Sutton, appointment of Community Emergency Management Coordinator, CEMC. Chief Sutton.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, members of council. This report is really just a formalization of our transition plan. It does require a bylaw on behalf of council for the appointment. I'm very pleased to be able to recommend Deputy Chief Thiessen for this role. Obviously, he's had many years of experience as the alternate and a wealth of knowledge, and I know he'll do well in the role. Available for any questions if there are any.
Councilor's pleasure. Any questions? Councilor Desjardins.
Not a question. I'll make a motion to accept the change of bodies from the chief to the deputy. Congratulations.
Somebody's leaving us. It's seconded by Councillor Reno. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Thank you, Chief. Item 2, the purchase of 3 pickup trucks for the Public Works Department. Mr. Beggs.
Good evening, members of council. The report tonight is for the purchase of 3 pickup trucks that were approved in the 2021 budget. There are 2 for the Parks Department and 1's for the Roads Department. As typical, we went through our bids and tenders process for the competitive bidding and got our pricing. And Victory Ford Lincoln was the low bidder on all the trucks that best met our needs and our specifications. And if there's any questions, I'm available for questions.
Any questions, Councillor Reno? Councillor Reno, you're muted. There we go.
Thank you, Your Worship. Not a problem with the recommendation. My only question that I usually get whenever we purchase a new vehicle is how old are the vehicles that we are replacing?
So typically what we do is we look at about a 10-year life cycle with pickups, and most of the time we actually get into probably about the 11 to 12-year range. By the time they leave us, they end up being sometimes a parks student truck or a miscellaneous truck until then. So these ones are in the neighborhood of 10 to 12 years old.
Okay.
Any other questions? Councillor Akpata.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. Mr. Beggs, I've got to believe that this is going to be the standard disposal plan for these vehicles.
Yep. It's so what we've been doing lately is not going through trade-ins when we get the tendering numbers, just because they don't seem to give us very much, and we sell them on the auction site, and we do fairly well with that, and that money goes back into the equipment reserves so that it can be used for future purchases.
Thank you very much.
Council's pleasure. Moved by Deputy Mayor Meloche, seconded by Councillor Edicio Spagnolo. All in favor? That carries unanimously again. Thank you. Council Services, Linda Jean, the report Deputy Clerk dated February 16th regarding the volunteer recognition event be received, and the recommendation to cancel the event and promote our volunteers through social media campaign during National Volunteer Week be approved.
Mayor,
Ms.
Bonnie,
Jean, I'm sorry?
I think we missed one.
Did we?
Mm-hmm. That is 2020.
The festivals. I apologize. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Patty Fanero, regarding the status of our festivals. I had a few phone calls today with press. I guess I thought I was already done with. Sorry, Patty, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. As you're aware, the Ontario COVID-19 response framework has 5 zones of public health measures, and currently Windsor-Essex County is in the red zone, which is the second most restrictive. While there has been some positive news with respect to case counts, the presence of new variants, as well as the uncertainty around the widespread availability of the vaccine, make it difficult to predict when movement to less restrictive zones will occur, and if that movement will be in time to plan large-scale festivals in 2021. Even in the green zone, which has the broadest allowance of activities, outdoor event space is limited to 100 people. Further to that, Festivals and Events Ontario is predicting that 2021 will look much like 2020 with respect to large event restrictions, and has advised festival and event planners to focus on smaller in-person events along with virtual events. Taking all of this into consideration, it is recommended that the 2021 Strawberry Festival and Last Call Before Fall event be canceled. As stated in the report, our staff will refocus their efforts on smaller events and alternative activities for the community.
Thank you, Ms. Fanaro. Council, Deputy Mayor Meloche.
Thank you, through you to Ms. Fanaro. So I obviously agree with canceling such large events. We're not anywhere near being able to host something like that. Plus it takes so much planning. My only question would be, for things we have contracts with, like Robertson's or anything else, is there any issues with those?
That's a great question. We do have a contract. However, I would think that the current pandemic would override any contract that we do have. I'm looking to Joe for direction, and he's nodding his head. So yes, I believe that would override that.
Okay. And then when you talk about smaller events, the markets, you're talking about actual in-person markets?
Correct. We are looking through the framework and through the restrictions, and markets is one of the areas where the restrictions are a little bit different. So we think that we will be able to host some of those smaller type events.
Great. I think our residents are definitely looking forward to any type of event, as small as it can be, just something to look forward to this year. So thank you very much. And I'll move the report.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Melas, second by Councillor Udicio Spagnolo, or do you have a question?
No, I was just going to say a statement.
Okay, go ahead.
I totally understand on canceling the festivals, obviously. And I'm happy to see that your department is looking at doing some smaller events. Just as Deputy Mayor mentioned, it's an itch right now with the community that just something small, whether it's farmers markets, some kids events, something, I think will do some good and bring some just community spirit back into the town of LaSalle and in the community in a whole. So I'm happy to see that. So, and I'll second that motion.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Melas, second by Councillor Udicio Spagnolo. All in favor? That carries. Thank you. Thank you, Patty. Now, Linda Jean, recommendation to cancel the event for the volunteer recognition and promote through our social media campaign during National Volunteer Week be approved. Linda, is there anything to add to that? Technical difficulties.
Sorry about that. My mic wasn't working.
That's okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're kind of in the same boat as the Culture and Rec Department with regards to holding the event. And with the uncertainty this fall, we don't know what will be happening. So we haven't secured any vendors or advertised a call for nominations at this point. As an alternative, and to continue honoring our volunteers, we are proposing a social media event be held the week of April 18th to the 24th, which will coincide with National Volunteer Week. Last year, we honored our past nominees through social media, but this year we'd like to change it up a bit. This event does not require a nomination and will welcome all submissions. So all volunteers will be recognized. Through a social media campaign, we will highlight LaSalle residents who volunteer their time, be it big or small. We will highlight what they do, how they do it, who they do it for, and those sorts of things. And we want to make sure that we're inclusive with all of the town of LaSalle. So we're going to be putting this out to all of our residents. And this past year, we've seen people supporting family, friends, neighbors, strangers, and we have seen people volunteering time and energy to organizations, both big and small. And our goal is to reach out to the LaSalle community and highlight these individuals. Our team will reach out to all of our community groups who continually support LaSalle, but also through social media, we will reach out to all LaSalle residents, asking them to highlight themselves, a group, or another person. At this point, an information form has been created, as well as a webpage, which are both ready to go. And in working with Agatha Robertson, our Director of Council Services, and Don Hodre, our Corporate Communications Officer, we'll prepare a social media platform, and with council approval, we can roll this out by the end of this week. Thank you. And if you have any questions, I'm available.
Thank you, Ms. Jean. Any questions? Deputy Mayor Melas.
Thank you, through you to Ms. Jean. My only concern is that enough time. We know when we do our normal nomination, we can start in January and until like July. Do you think this is enough time for residents to submit things?
At this point, if we can roll it out, the sooner the better. Our council coordinator has already compiled a list and of who to communicate with our community groups. And through our communications officer, Don Hodre, we're going to be pushing out information through Facebook, Twitter, all of those platforms. So hopefully we can get that out. and we're going to be working with other departments as well as Parks and Rec and Patty Finaro. She's got some user groups as well who she's going to reach out to for us. So hopefully by April we'll be able to have a decent response.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Deputy Mayor, or sorry, Councillor Reno. Move the recommendation? Okay.
I will move the recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Desjardins, second. Okay, all in favor? That carries. Thank you. Accessibility Advisory Committee minutes held February 3rd, 2021. Councillor Desjardins.
Thank you. We did talk about this at our council meeting 2 weeks ago. We had an excellent meeting. Lots of good information about where we are, where we're going. Ms. Jean did put together a excellent report on the year-end accessibility and where we are and what we're doing going forward. And I'm excited to host an accessibility meeting tomorrow afternoon to discuss the waterfront project. I think it's important that as a user group, our accessibility committee is included, and we can have some ideas from them. We look at plans and think they're wonderful, and usually they are, but sometimes folks with challenges look at things a little bit differently, so they might be able to offer some insight into what we're doing. So that's where we are with the report at this point. So I would make a motion to accept the minutes as they are.
Thank you, Councillor Desjardins, and seconded by Councillor Dicho Spagnolo. All in favor? That carries. Thank you. We have items to be received. Recommendation, the Executive Assistant Council Services Clerk dated February 15th regarding council member attendance at council and committee meetings from October to December 2020 be received. Moved by Deputy Mayor Meloche, seconded by Councillor Carrick. Do you have a question, Councillor Carrick? Okay.
Yeah, I just have a note that I'm not on the Parks and Rec committee, even though I'm put on that one there, but I am not a member of that committee. Thanks.
Okay, that'll be corrected. Thank you. We have a mover and a seconder. All in favor? That carries. Thank you. Summary of reports to council. Questions? Moved by Deputy Mayor Meloche, seconded by Councillor Desjardins. All in favor? That carries. Thank you. And we come to the bylaws. We have 6 bylaws. So on all 3 readings, all 6 bylaws. Moved by Councillor Ekpata, seconded by Councillor Reno. All in favor? That carries. Thank you. Council questions. Councillor Ekpata.
Through you to your worship, to a member of administration, just wanted to find out the status of some of the water main breaks. Were there more? Were there less? I understand how quickly our crews dealt with them, but I just wanted to make sure that the infrastructure weathered the coldness appropriately. So I'm just looking to know if it was normal for the conditions, your worship.
Good question. Mr. Mara joined us, Deputy CAO.
Thank you. So we were going to prepare a report for the Water Wastewater Committee meeting on this, but I guess I can fill council in on this. Certainly, there's nothing out of the ordinary with respect to what has occurred. What we have noticed is that weekend where we had a number of breaks, there was a few other areas outside of our municipality, other municipalities that had a number of breaks as well. Could be due to a surge in the system or things of that nature that may have just been a bit of an anomaly for us to deal with. So certainly that is may have been a cause of one of the recent multiple breaks in a weekend event that we had. But certainly nothing is out of the ordinary. We're actually tracking lower than we have in previous years. So we continue to make improvements with respect to the infrastructure and avoiding these breaks.
Thank you, Mr. Morrow. Does that answer your question, Councillor Ekpata?
Yes, it does. Thank you, your worship.
Okay. Any other? Oh, Councillor Renault.
Thank you, Your Worship. I thought I'd get Peter while he was still on the screen. Maybe he'll come back for me. Perfect. There seems to be a little bit of a growing misunderstanding in the community about sidewalk clearing. I do remember a few years ago, before we purchased our new piece of machinery last year, you made us a great map and a great plan showing the church areas, the school areas, and things like that. I was wondering if that could come back to council just to answer some of these little questions that are popping up, because now that we've got the machine out there and we're doing some good work, people are expecting us to be in the subdivisions with that machine, and there's just all kinds of thoughts about that out there. So if we could get that map or an updated policy coming back, that would be great.
Yes, certainly through you, Mr. Mayor. We can circulate, we can prepare a report and bring back something to show you what the current process and what the current priorities are. We typically revisit these at budget time because as we continue to expand it, it has budget implications. So that is the typical time of when we do expand on the service from year to year. That hasn't been done in the last year, certainly keeping in mind the budget constraints and the budget alignment of what we want to achieve from an annual budget. So certainly we'll bring it back, and if council wishes to revisit that, the appropriate time would probably be around budget time to start to continue to expand that service if council so wishes.
Thank you, Mr. Maher. Does that answer your question, Councillor Reno?
It does. Thank you, Peter.
Councillor Desjardins.
Thank you. Through you, along that same line, the last map that I have, or that I think is on the website for street cleaning, is 2016. Is there a more current one, Peter, that would include like the new subdivisions off 6th Concession and in Victory in that neighborhood?
For street cleaning or for
snow plowing?
For snow plowing of the roads?
Yeah.
Yes, there are. Those get updated annually. Certainly those get updated with respect to as new subdivisions come on board and as the town takes those over and puts them on to maintenance and takes them over into our inventory. Certainly we can take a look at the what's on the website and make sure that the most latest snowplow routes are available on the website.
That's perfect. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Any other council questions? Seeing none, statements by council members. Mr. Militia, you had your hand up? Sorry, Councillor Diccio Spagnolo.
Through you, just a comment to Peter and his team in the Public Works Department, just applauding them on the great service on the clean roads, salted roads, a lot of great feedback. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and thank them for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Diccio Spagnolo. Mostly we get is complaints. We never get a pat on the back, but they need a pat on the back because that last snowstorm, we got caught a little bit behind and people were complaining, but they have to understand we only have a limited number of trucks and employees and they need a break as well. So thanks for that. Mr. Militia, did you want to have a comment?
Yeah, just two comments. The first is just a bit of a COVID update, just so the council's aware. I was actually waiting for the question from Councillor Arcpata. Usually he's pretty good at council question, but just to bring everyone up to speed in respect to the COVID update, we continue to move forward with moving certainly out of the lockdown area and into the red zone. We are employing a very balanced and cautious approach as we take a look at what we are doing. The mayor mentioned in his opening comments that we are opening up town hall to town business only on Monday, as well as starting to slowly open up the Vollmer complex throughout the month of March till we get to a more normal operating status at this point. A lot of that's going to depend on what the environment is around us, and much like the province has instituted that emergency break, we will also have something similar in that if the situation really does turn for the worst here in our region, we may need to make some of those adjustments as we go forward. So we are taking note of the environment around us and trying to keep tabs on that, as well as integrating that with the balanced approach that we're taking. We do have a number of members that are working actively with the vaccination team through the Windsor Essex County Health Unit. Certainly the current CEMC, which is Chief Sutton, which is just actually once we pass the bylaw, which will change, as well as our alternate CEMC, which is Mr. Gaetano Ferraro. They both have been working with the vaccination team to develop what a vaccination site would look like in whether it's here located in LaSalle or outside of LaSalle, and what support is required for that. So certainly as the town, we look to support the health unit in any way possible, whether it's hosting a site or whether it's supporting a site in whatever way we can. We intend to support or host the whole vaccination effort. So we continue to work through that. I think the plans are being developed at this point. And so we look forward to hearing more from that in the coming weeks as the plans get finalized. We are, again, there is good news on the vaccination front in that the vaccine is becoming more readily available. They are expecting more and more vaccine to be delivered throughout March and starting to get large volumes into April, given what the planning is at this point. So there are some good things happening. Unfortunately, it is playing havoc with a lot of our operations as well as our culture and rec programming and event schedule. Unfortunately, again, someone once noted to me that, again, 2021 may look a lot like 2020, a bit of wash, rinse, repeat. But that's what we seem to be going through as we proceed through 2021. But we are looking forward, and we do hear. I know one of the members of council had made mention that any event is a good event because I think residents are really looking forward to getting back to what normal life might look like, and even just interacting a little bit with their neighbors and their community. So we are looking in any way possible to have these smaller events so that they are a little bit more community driven. So I would say that. I would, on a positive note, I would also say that, again, Mr. Marr is also on the line, so he will be able to answer any specific questions. But we have been able to secure a lot of the lights and displays for the Christmas feature that we will have at the holiday season. We have had to move rather quickly with that. There will be a report to council coming at the upcoming council meeting in terms of what we have been able to acquire, but we were able to take advantage of some discounts that are available towards the end, that expire at the end of this month. So we have moved rather quickly with that to secure the delivery of all the ornaments and all the fixtures, as well as the tree to come forward. So we look forward to that, and hopefully as we get into the fall season, we can have a little larger events that we can bring the community together in those ways. So we look forward to that going forward. But like I said, wanted to bring council up to speed with respect to our approach on COVID, as well as the good news on the holiday display being moving forward with that. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer, and I'll leave it at that.
Any questions? I do, Mr. Militia. Would you say we speak 2-3 times a day?
I think that's accurate.
And would you say that you've never said wash, rinse, and repeat yet? That's a new one. I thought I heard them all.
Well, I try to be original.
Okay, thanks. Statements by council members. Reports from committees. Councillor Carrick.
Thank you. I'll speak on behalf of Sue, and she can jump in if she likes, but we're both sitting on the board of directors for IRCA as our representatives, and we just passed our budget at 2% overall, and we do have some challenges coming up, mandatory issues versus non-mandatory issues. And there's some things that fall underneath the non-mandatory issues, which we'll have to look at and see where the funding and how that's going to be supported down the road. But a small bit of good news is that we passed our budget at $309,000. IRCA's 2% puts us at just under $5,000. So there's a bit of a savings there of $4,000. So maybe I could buy a few more lights, Joe. I'm not sure. But, it's all good. So I just wanted to pass on a little bit of positive news, and they are continuing to do great work for the environment in our region. So hopefully we can keep up the good work and not take too much of a bath in this mandatory stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carrick. Councillor Desjardins, anything to add to that?
Just that hopefully we're going to be able to continue some of our education programs that the province is kind of deemed non-mandatory, but we're working diligently with the homestead, for instance, and our education facilities to bring programs forward, because we know how much people enjoy them. We know how much students look forward to them. Teachers think they're great field trips. Parents think they're great knowledge sources for their children. So we're working diligently to keep as many of those as we can. And talking about the homestead, our new facility, our new Heritage Center is looking wonderful at this point. The contractor is out there, and if you want to take a drive out County Road 50 and just kind of check out the parking lot, you'll see the building. It's looking great, and we hope to be able to gradually open by the end of March into April.
Thank you, Councillor Desjardins. Any other reports from committees? Any notices of motion? Confirmatory bylaw. First reading. Deputy Mayor Milosh and Councillor Akpata, all in favor? That carries. On the second reading, we have Councillor Reno and Councillor Edicio Spagnolo, all in favor? That carries. And the third and final reading, Councillor Carrick and Councillor Desjardins, all in favor? That carries. You have your schedule of meetings coming up, and have a good night.